that needs to be had that is really above us. And I think that is the part that we really need to get to. So hopefully at All-Star, we can have an opportunity and a conversation because at this time, we something needs to change. It's actually disgusting. So I'm glad that Chelsea had an opportunity to speak up and had an opportunity to show that what we've been going through and we're going to continue to go through until we have that conversation. So
yeah, what you go through is nothing special. What you go through is nothing special, nothing unique, nothing that needs to be addressed, nothing that a conversation needs to be had about. It's just a bunch of WNBA players crying because a bunch of people that they don't know are saying mean things and leaving nasty messages in their DMs that they have the right to ignore in the first place.
This league never wanted to grow. They wanted the money, they wanted the viewers, but they wanted to still feel insulated. It goes back to the article that I covered on this channel a couple of years ago where they interviewed WNBA fans, old guard fans that had been a fan of this league, and they were talking about, yeah, we don't love the fact that now we go to the arena. Number one, prices that went up. Number two, it's not like it used to be. We used to actually get done watching games at the arena, and then we'd go to the club.
Against the Seattle Storm, Caitlin Clark delivered a franchise record 45-point performance. She also became the first player in WNBA history to score 40 points while recording 10 assists in the same game. Not the first guard to do it. Not the first Indiana Fever player to reach that mark. She became the first player ever to accomplish it in a league that has been around for nearly 30 seasons.
Tired of y'all talking about her. Oh, man, I knew it. I told my son, I say, bro, I believe Caitlin Clark is going to come in this game and just lay it down because of all of the media, all of these negative attention, these negative headlines to keep coming out about her each and every day.
What makes this achievement even more remarkable is the way it happened. Clark reached that milestone while playing fewer than 30 minutes on the court. She wasn't out there for 38 or 40 minutes trying to build a bigger stat line during a blowout. In limited playing time, she still finished with 45 points and 10 assists, showing just how incredible her production really was. Along with Kelsey Mitchell, who scored 30 points, they combined for 75 of Indiana's 110 points that night. Seattle spent most of the game sending double teams at Clark, throwing extra defenders at her almost every time she touched the ball, yet she still reached 45 points. This wasn't simply the result of one hot shooting night. She was performing at a level above everyone else on the floor, including her own teammates. And they had an outstanding game as well.
Caitlin Clark was on a minutes restriction, and for being under 30 minutes, putting 45 points down, 10 assists, actually, I know she got 6 stocks, but let's just see what exactly they were. She got 4 steals and 2 blocks, and I gotta tell you, she came in.
Within hours of the final buzzer, highlights from the game were everywhere. No matter which account or platform you came across, the message was almost identical. While she continues putting together historic performances on the court, Clark keeps adding accomplishments to her resume that people will be talking about, debating, and analyzing for years to come. Before this week, no player in WNBA history had ever recorded 40 points and 10 assists in a single game. Not Sue Bird. Not Diana Taurasi. That's just how rare this achievement really is.
Bill Wilson sending a message to Caitlin Clark. I'm going to see you at All-Star Weekend. And when I see you, we gon' talk. And it ain't gonna be just me. It's gonna be me. It's gonna be Chelsea Gray. It's gonna be all the activists in the WNBA. We're gonna come knocking on your front door at the hotel room and say, listen up, Caitlin. You need to come out and publicly denounce all of your fans. You need to come out and publicly say, if you guys are fans of me, you need to stop watching.
This is where the story becomes more complicated. And in reality, it has been building for quite a while. For much of the last year and a half, Aya Wilson has spoken about Caitlin Clark, or more specifically, the attention surrounding her, without directly focusing on Clark herself. During a December interview with Time magazine, Wilson said the excitement around Clark's rise briefly overshadowed the history of the WNBA. She then added, "I don't like that." She also chose her words carefully. Wilson explained that she wasn't impressed by all the hype and said her main concern was that people were overlooking the players who built the league long before Clark ever stepped onto a WNBA court.
I'm sure you saw, just became the all-time scoring leader in women's college basketball. I'm curious, where would you rank her amongst all-time college players in your opinion?
Ooh, that's tough because you got to win one. I feel like that college is one of those spaces where you got to win one for them to even have your name in the conversation. And it took me 3 years to win mine, so it's hard. But congratulations to her. I know my teammate KP was just like, yeah, that's huge. That's a lot of points, and that don't take that for granted. They were getting them up 100%. So congratulations to her. But I think she got to win her one to really kind of have her name in that. But I mean, she's always going to be a great player for Iowa and for the game as a whole. But yeah, winning one is pretty huge in college. So when she gets her one, if she gets her one, then
that viewpoint is completely fair to mention. After winning 3 championships and 4 MVP awards, Wilson has certainly earned the right to speak about the league's history and everything that came before this current wave of popularity. The issue is that the topic keeps coming up. Almost every time Clark becomes the focus of a media cycle, whether it's a magazine feature, an awards show, or a media session, Wilson eventually shares her thoughts about the fans, how attention is spread across the league, race and privilege, and who deserves credit. That contrast sits at the center of this entire discussion. One player regularly speaks in interviews about fairness, perception, and who receives too much attention. The other scores 45 points and hands out 10 assists in less than 30 minutes, allowing her performance to speak for itself.
That ultimately the issues around Caitlin Clark are not largely about officiating, and that particular incident is not about whether a foul should have been called at the time in the game or whether that was ultimately a flagrant on review. And I've come to know Caitlin really well. She's an incredible player and also an incredible person. And she wants to focus on being the best player she can. And she's become a bit of a political football in this country. And I think it's incredibly unfair to her. I don't think that issue is ultimately about officiating. It's sort of, it's become political ping pong with her. And she's a young woman who's trying to improve her game, right, focus on being the best player as she can. And I don't even think it's fair to her that this has become a separate storyline about one foul should have been called at the time or should have been called.
Adam Silver hasn't stayed on the sidelines during this situation either. Speaking just last week, the commissioner directly addressed the ongoing conversation surrounding Clark. He referred to her as a political football while avoiding a direct answer about a reported suspension connected to one of her recent interactions with game officials. That phrase alone says a lot. Silver was essentially suggesting that Clark has become more than just a basketball player. She now represents a larger conflict between different groups, extending well beyond what happens on the court. Silver and the Board of Governors from both leagues are expected to increase their review of the situation. At this stage, it's almost unavoidable. The league has become a complete mess.
Silver and the Board of Governors from both leagues will escalate a review of her stats. You almost have to at this point. This league's a train wreck. Silver did not address his role in the Thomas suspension Tuesday, but sources familiar with the situation said Engelbert initially believed during the evaluation process that because no foul was called on the court against Thomas, a follow-up suspension seemed too steep of a discipline. You have DEI officials who have no business officiating a junior high game. This is me talking, not the article. And everybody knows this. It's like in the NCAA. And these women and men and DEI hires of the WNBA.
Silver has stepped in before on Clark's behalf, although in a limited way. He described Kennedy Carter's hard foul on Clark in 2024 as a welcome to the league moment. At the same time, he stressed that the play was not unusual in a competitive league and shouldn't be exaggerated into something bigger than it was. Still, no matter how often other players insist publicly that nothing is personal, it's clear the attention surrounding Clark isn't fading anytime soon when the league's commissioner is answering questions about suspension reports and using terms like political football to describe one specific 23-year-old player. The optics are unusual as well. One of the most powerful executives in American sports is making a noticeable effort to keep a rookie-turned superstar from being overwhelmed by a media storm that has grown larger than the game itself. That's significant. Commissioners rarely become this involved in the story of one player unless the situation has clearly grown beyond the sport.
To be very important for the W. They could come out of that weekend having a hell of a lot fewer fans. All right? And you may be like, well, oh, they're going to run the homophobes and the racists off. No, they're going to run sports fans off that just don't want to hear about this bullshit. That understand if you put yourself in a public spotlight, you're going to get some creeps to come out. I mean, Caitlin Clark's had these stalkers. Sophie Cunningham's had these stalkers. You notice how nobody talks about that? The media doesn't talk.
This is the part of the situation that feels especially uncomfortable. Right now, Wilson and Clark aren't rivals on opposing teams where the tension can stay at a comfortable distance. Instead, they are teammates. Both will represent the same side during the 2026 WNBA All-Star Game on July 25th in Chicago as part of the league's 30th season celebration. This year's teams also weren't chosen the usual way. WNBA legends Teresa Weatherspoon and Cynthia Cooper served as honorary general managers and selected the rosters live on ESPN, turning the entire draft into a televised event.
I don't know, something in the milk ain't clean about this. Asia Wilson leads with 308,000 votes. Y'all are tripping. Y'all expect the general public to just shove everything into our mouth. Just take everything. Y'all throw it at us, huh? Now, I'm not coming on here hating on Asia Wilson. I'm not saying she's not going to accumulate votes. Ain't nobody saying all that. But she's leading the votes. Girl, this is not true. I mean, Caitlin Clark, this is only Caitlin Clark's third year in the league, right? Asia Wilson ain't never turned out this many votes, ever. And this is what, year 8, year 7 for her? She ain't never turned out this many votes. This is...
Wilson enters her 8th All-Star appearance, playing some of the best basketball of her career, averaging more than 25 points per game and sitting at or near the top of the league's scoring race. On the other side of the same locker room, Clark has been rewriting record books in nearly every area this season. She has been scoring and creating opportunities for teammates at a level never before seen in Indiana Fever history. Her 45-point performance against Seattle is simply the latest and most impressive example. Picture the scene for a moment. 2 of the WNBA's biggest stars are sharing the same locker room and bench as they prepare for an all-star weekend celebrating the league's 30-year history. One of them has spent more than a year publicly discussing the other's popularity during national interviews. When they intentionally take the floor together in Chicago next week, fans and the media will be watching that exact interaction. Aya Wilson will walk over to Caitlin Clark and say, "Caitlin here." She will hand a letter to Caitlin Clark.